Hi there, saxophone family. James Barger here with some practice tips for the second TMEA All-State Etude, Fairling Etude number 33 in A-flat major. As always, tone is the most important aspect of your sound, and it will be on full display in this etude. I like to begin my daily practice sessions with long tones that cover the full range of the instrument. You can find my saxophone daily studies video in the top right corner, and also linked in the description below. Closely related to tone, and another incredibly important aspect of your playing in this etude is intonation. Even though you will audition unaccompanied, the notes within the etude and the intervals between the notes must be in tune. My favorite way to address this is through the use of practice drones. Practice drones, such as cello drones, the tuning CD, or those found in the Tonal Energy app, are constructed in such a way so as to easily identify the beats or waves present in an out-of-tune sound. Since this etude is in the written key of A-flat major, you will want to practice with the drone set to concert B for alto and baritone saxophones, or concert F sharp for tenor saxes. If you're using Tonal Energy, I like to set a drone on the root and fifth of the key in several octaves. Proceed through the etude slowly, rhythm is not particularly important here, and work to make each note blend into the drone with no interference. If you hear an out-of-tune note, bend the note sharp and then flat before settling up into the correct tuning. Practicing this way for a few minutes each day will help you identify the tuning tendencies and proper corrections on your instrument. An important aspect of a mature saxophone sound is vibrato, and you will definitely want to implement this into your performance. Vibrato on the saxophone is created by the gradual raising and lowering of the jaw, resulting in a slight pitch variation centered above and below the 0 point. Here is a simple exercise that I enjoy practicing. Choose a scale, here I'll use A-flat major, and play through each note in whole notes. Begin with 2 beats of straight tone, and then add 2 beats with the 16th note vibrato pulse. As you become more comfortable, gradually increase the tempo. For me, I try to aim for a vibrato that is somewhere between 300 and 330 beats per minute. That would be 75 to 84 BPM in 16th notes, or 100 to 110 BPM in triplets. For vibrato inspiration, listen to your favorite saxophonists, vocalists, and string musicians and emulate their vibrato depth, speed, and intensity. When I have judged region competitions in the past, one of the most prominent things I hear is rhythmic inaccuracy in the lyrical etude. Just because the etude is slow does not mean that the metronome is not a useful tool. Commit to learning the rhythms correctly with a steady pulse from the very beginning of the process, and you will have a much more successful audition. It may be helpful to practice counting through the etude with a dedicated counting system before playing through it. Another technique that I practice is articulating the subdivisions of all long notes. You can find a copy of the subdivided version of this etude in the description below. Begin by playing along with the bottom line, then go back and play the etude as written while a teacher, friend, or this video accompanies you with the bottom part. If the rhythms are accurate, the parts should line up perfectly. Going on after the cadenza. Notice that all of the ornamentation is absent at this stage. Trills, grace notes, and turns should be added only after you can play the entire etude accurately and comfortably without. Trills in the style of this etude should begin and end on the notated pitch and alternate with the next note above, always being sure to follow the key signature. Trills needn't be incredibly fast nor rhythmically metered. You might experiment with starting slow and gradually increasing the speed of the trill to build intensity and direction through the note. Grace notes should be placed just before the beat and also need not be incredibly fast. Rather, play them as the name suggests, gracefully. In places where there are both a trill and grace notes, I add them individually first so as not to obstruct the rhythm, and then put them together. For the turns, think of these as a 4-note grouping following the written pitch. Those 4 notes will be the note above, a return to the written pitch, the note below, and a final return to the written pitch. Always be sure to follow the key signature. In order to allow room for the ornament, cut the value of the written pitch in half and put the 4-note grouping on the second half. For example, if the turn takes place on an 8th note, as in measure 30, play the written note as a 16th note, and then the 4-note grouping as 64th notes in order to fill in the remaining space. Lastly, we will discuss the cadenza, which is a unique element of this etude. Begin by observing the full length of the high E flat. Because of the fermata, hold for the full value of the dotted half note, plus a little bit longer before moving on. The notes of the cadenza do not have to be played perfectly in time. I would suggest starting slow and gradually picking up speed through the notated 30-second notes. Think of a roller coaster nearing the top of the first drop and picking up speed as it begins its descent. Do note that the end of the cadenza is slower due to the change in rhythm. Experiment with different approaches to the cadenza and select your favorite. If you have questions about working on this etude or helpful advice for others, please be sure to leave a comment below. And be sure to subscribe to my channel for future videos. Happy practicing!